if y'all hear me, it says 0. So damn, I don't even. Okay. Let me know if y'all hear me. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? Let me know if y'all hear me.
Yo.
And Jordan, you hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Are you the family filling in the room? Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, we just had to do it a different way. Sorry for the inconvenience and the delay, but I guess this message is meant to get to y'all tonight. Let me just pull up this brother's Instagram because I want to read a post that the brother put up that inspired today's show.
Okay.
When he was talking about, hold up, oh boy. All right. Okay, here you go. I'm gonna let everybody fill in the room, y'all. We about to get started. Sorry for the delay, technical difficulties, but the brother RFG, the chosen one, is back in the building. All right, family. Yeah, I know a lot of people missed out. And sorry to everybody who may be seeing this later on. It was like, damn, I didn't know they did that show tonight. Apologize about it, but we back up and running. As we get started, I want to give a shout out to everybody who got their ticket to the Gathering of Masters. If you didn't get your ticket, there will be a live stream available. It just hasn't been created yet, so just stay tuned for that. But with that being said, we're gonna get right into it. We don't have much time tonight. We gotta get this thing started. My brother RFG, the chosen one, man. Welcome back to the show, my brother.
I appreciate you having me again. I appreciate it, man.
Indeed. Listen, man, like I said, you always got interesting Instagram posts.
Okay.
That's how I find out about some of the people that's on this channel. Sometimes I just scroll through Instagram and I find interesting pages, and this brother's page is very interesting. So his Instagram page is let me put this on the screen. Share this. Damn, I feel bad for everybody who was just in here who don't know we back. Damn, man. Yeah, it was just. But yeah, I want all of y'all to follow this brother on Instagram, RFG_chosen1. So check this out. So what I'm doing is I'm basically connecting dots. I got a lot of people on the channel, and I noticed similarities between what you're saying, brothers like Rod Hayes, brothers like Sharif Bey, brothers like Billy Carson, brothers like Vidal. Sisters like Aquarius Maximus talk about Atlantis, and I'm connecting dots, and it's making more and more sense to me. And I love when I could get different perspectives and I could connect the dots myself. And I feel as though you got some important pieces to this Atlantis puzzle and this Antarctica puzzle that a lot of people need to know. So with that being said, let me read this, family, then we're gonna get started. All right, this is from the brother's Instagram. Western Africa, Spain, the Caribbean islands, and northern Brazil all have a massive Ricat structure. I hope I'm saying that right. On the Atlantic coast of their lands. The 4 Ricat structures were used as points of entry to and from Atlantis. Atlantis was a tropical continent which literally connected South America, Africa, North America, and Europe together. When the Atlanteans lost the war to Enlil and the Tuatha de Danann, the Earth's inner sun was weakened, which caused Atlantis, parentheses, Antarctica, to break away from its original position, and it caused Atlantis, parentheses, Antarctica, to freeze over. The Ricat structures prove without a shadow of a doubt the Atlantis continent existed in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. This summer, both inner and outer suns will reach such a high frequency, the heat wave will knock out multiple satellites, including HAARP's weather-modifying satellite. The parasite will have no choice but to flee to their underground bunkers or to leave the planet. The Ricat structures in the Caribbean and Brazil have not yet been discovered by mainstream sources, but the souls of the Nephilim told me the 2 remaining Ricat structures are there. All right, brother. All right. So a lot to unpack here, talk about.
Okay.
First things first, my brother, what is the Ricat structure? These are entry points to and from. And what is the Ricat structure, my brother?
from my research, it appears that the Richat structure is a remnant of a former city, of like an ancient city. And these particular cities were set up in ring-like structures that spread out in a 25-mile diameter or a 30-mile diameter. And many archaeologists say that they are the remnants of biodomes. And, you know, the biodome is used for creating life, like literally genetically augmenting life forms to survive on a new planet. Because if the life form is immune to that particular ecosystem on the planet, or if a life form is immune to the microorganisms on a planet, they won't need to live in a biodome. You see, a biodome is to send a life form to another planet and create a living quarters for those species until they have grown in immunity to the what do you call that? To the native bacterial microorganisms. So to put this, to make this more simpler for people to grasp, if I was to go to Mars, I would have to go in a very, highly protected suit, because the immune system in my cells, all right, is not immune to the foreign microorganisms that exist in the soil and inside of the air on planet Mars. So if I was to go to Mars, right, with no suit, with no covering, with no biodome, I would get sick, shrivel up, start vomiting, diarrhea, seizures, things of that nature, until, I would be killed in between 24 and 48 hours. And that's the importance of the spacesuit and the biodome. So these rings are actually remnants of ancient biodomes.
Wow. So okay, so who, you said they lost the war to Enlil? Okay, so the Tuatha De Danann. Yeah, what is that?
Those are the Nordic extraterrestrials that the deity known as Amun-Ra. See, Amun-Ra, he wanted to enslave the original inhabitants of this earth, but there was too many of them, and there was too many rebellions against his establishment. So he took it upon himself to literally form his own particle collider, right? Which was basically the ancient form of CERN. And through his own portal, he pulled these beings through that portal, and they were known as the Tuatha De Danann. You can read about them in the Gaelic texts, and the arch enemies of the Tuatha De Danann were the Formorians. Now, the Formorians are the original Atlanteans, which are, the Proselines and the Nomos. But you see, Amun-Ra, he brought about the invasion of the Tuatha De Danann, which are the Nordics. They call them the tall, pale whites. And then you had the Draconian invasion. And then, you had the insectoids that were on this earth is just as long as the Proselines.
Man, this sounds like some wild shit. So Amun-Ra, is that Marduk? Is that
he's an associate. He's a supporter and a friend of that deity. So you had, well, no. Marduk was against Enlil, and they tried to make Marduk look like the bad guy, but that wasn't the case. Marduk was pro-humanity. He wanted humanity to have all the opportunities to achieve godhood, and Enlil, wanted to make this Earth a soul harvesting factory and a gene splicing program.
So let me ask you, because like I said in the beginning, I'm connecting dots here, and I'm seeing where, because there's so many different stories and mythologies. So I'm just seeing what connects with what. How does this tie in with the Nation of Islam and the Yaqub story?
They are correct. The Nation of Islam is correct regarding the creation of the newer races on the earth. So I'm not gonna say that they're wrong about that. The thing is, at this particular time, because of centuries of colonization and centuries of race mixing, you only got like maybe in between 2 or 3% of the people on the planet that would be considered, purebloods.
Right. Okay, yeah, this is interesting. The person said Marduk is good. Suddenly see where the term of endearment Mardukes could possibly derive. Well, that's interesting. Mardukes. That's interesting. Very, very okay. We thinking now. We got our thinking caps on in the chat. We got our thinking caps on, our kufi, tinfoil hats on right now. Okay, so all right. So that's who the Tuatha Dé Danann is, the Nordics. Okay, so the inner sun. So you saying the inner sun was weakened. What would you describe? Because I've heard other people describe the inner sun. How would you describe the inner sun? Where is it? How does it affect us? Like, could you explain that a little deeper? Our inner sun.
The inner sun is what they want us to believe the core of the earth is. They told us something. They told us something so asinine in school. They told us that the earth has an iron core, and that's impossible according to their own math, because they said this iron core is melting at it's burning at 9,300 degrees Fahrenheit. So according to my research, iron starts to melt at about 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit, and then the boiling point of iron is a little bit over 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So how in the world is an iron core burning at a temperature 3 times its boiling point for billions of years, and the iron is still there? I need somebody to explain that to me, because it does not make sense over here at all. So, I believe they shot themselves in the foot with that. And then that makes a lot of sense, because that means there's no magnetic field over the earth, all right? Because there's no magnetic element in the core of the earth, right? So just how the ancients said, we don't have an iron core, we have an inner sun. And what that inner sun does is it emits mass amounts of ether energy. And from that ether energy, we get radiation. And from that radiation, we get electricity, and then we get fire. We get the Kundalini fire. We get the electric force coming from that ether.
Very, very, very interesting. So, all right, how does this relate? Because like I said, there's a lot to unpack with this one Instagram post. How does this relate to Antarctica? Because you're saying that the Atlantis was in the Caribbean islands, right?
It was connected at one point.
Right. So what's the connection between the Atlantis being the Atlantis continent you said existed in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, but then you also said that Antarctica broke away from its original position and it froze over. So
yeah,
let's talk about Atlantis freezing over, and before it froze over, what was going on Antarctica before it froze over?
Antarctica was a tropical paradise before it broke off between those 4 continents and was moved to the bottom of the earth. That's proven by the Perry-Reese maps. The Perry-Reese maps, I believe you spell it P-I-R-I-R-E-I-S. Yeah, Perry-Reese maps. That was discovered in 1513, and it showed Antarctica free of ice with, you know, habitat, animals, pyramids, indigenous people. You see what I'm saying? That was a landmass that connected to South America and also the Caribbean. And that was a landmass that connected to Europe, and it connected to Northwestern Africa. How do we know that Atlantis connected to Europe? Because of these underwater structures off the coast of Spain that basically emulate the same thing that they found in Mauritania. So they found these giant ring-like structures that are remnants of a biodome in the southern, you know, the southern sea, right off the southern coast of Spain. And there's an article about that in that same post that I posted. Now, the English, the British people, and then the people of Ireland, the Nordic people of Ireland, they talk about a land called High Brazil. They call it High Brazil. High Brazil was their depiction of Atlantis. That was their name for Atlantis. They called it High Brazil. And you know, what do you know? In the book that they call the Popol Vuh, they speak about Atlantis, you know, also being connected to northern Brazil. So this landmass of Atlantis was like an oval shape, and connecting to South America, the Caribbean, as well as Spain, and then Northwestern Africa.
Wow, very, very interesting. So you talked about the sun heating up. So what do you see happening with Antarctica in the next, let's say, 30 years? Most of us is gonna be around the next 30 years. What do you see happening with Antarctica?
They're trying to use very, very highly advanced pieces of technology. And what they use is, it's called vortex tube technology. Vortex tube technology. It's the same technology they put in refrigerators. Vortex tube technology. They're able to create this same form of energy in a much higher concentration inside of our atmosphere. And they're, you know, that's part of their HARP technology, and they're using it to keep Antarctica cold. Now, for whatever reason, they weren't able to succeed with that in the North Pole, because the North Pole, those ice caps have melted completely. There is no more ice in the North Pole. And at one point, Antarctica, the ice there was melting, all right, but they're trying hard with their HARP technology to use that vortex tube energy to keep those cold air fronts, keeping Antarctica at that cold temperature. Because for some reason, if whatever they're trying to cover up in Antarctica, if it gets free, I guess that's going to be the end of humanity.
Wow. Somebody in the chat commented earlier, and I've seen a lot of videos on TikTok. They're saying there's a giant serpent in the water below South America. Did you hear anything about that? Do you know anything about that?
I know about the green anacondas in the Amazon, which can, you know, they can be measured anywhere from 30 to 40 feet long.
No, this sounds different. Family, elaborate on that. If anybody knows what this gentleman is talking about, elaborate on this thing that they're spotting on I think it's Google Earth or something like that. Elaborate on that if any of y'all know about that in the chat. But yeah, okay, so this Antarctica thing, wow. Okay, so in terms of wait, I'm trying to see something you wrote here. Okay, so in terms of this Rakat structure, and you saying there's two more that you're saying the Nephilim told you are remaining in the Caribbean and Brazil. What do you mean by the Nephilim told you? I'm always fascinated by people that channel or get information or have have extrasensory perception, or maybe they just study a lot. But I'm always fascinated by how people get their research. What do you mean by the Nephilim told you that about these structures in the Caribbean and Brazil?
These are the same entities that spoke to me through light codes back in 2019 and literally told me while I was sun gazing that the closest things to gods in this realm are the trees. They literally told me that the closest thing to God in this realm is the trees, because the trees are non-parasitic. All they need is water and sunlight to survive, and they live for thousands and thousands of years, and they retain information, light codes from the cosmos and from the earth, and then they spread it to other trees and other spirits across the earth. See what I'm saying? So that information literally, it just came to me while I was sun gazing, spring of 2019, and I put a YouTube video out right after I had that epiphany. But like I've been able to tap into speaking to certain ancestors and receiving certain light codes since 2012.
Right. Do you do shrooms, brother?
I've only done them once in 2018.
Okay. All right. Just because I know people get certain downloads about certain things, and when you said trees, it just made me think of my boy Cambada, a rap artist, and he talks a lot about the trees, and he gets certain information about trees when he does the shroom. So that's why I asked you that. All right. So all right. So check this out. So you talked about that. Now I want to connect it with another post you made. Like I said, I'm connecting dots here. Now, in a newer post, you said, inside the Mayan book known as the Popol Vuh, I hope I'm saying it right, it states there was a giant landmass which used to be connected to northern Brazil, French Guiana, Guyana, Suriname, Venezuela, and the Caribbean islands. The Popol Vuh speaks of an ancient landmass breaking away from South America. It was sunken after a great war broke out between the gods. Scroll back to my post about the recast structure on March 5th, where I stated there must be evidence of Atlantis being connected to the eastern part of South America, and here we have it. The Popol Vuh is the second source, along with the philosopher Plato, who makes a specific reference to the lost continent of Atlantis. Wow. Okay, so this is connected to the post that I just read that you just did. So we talked about Enlil, we talked about these Nordics that he came through this portal that Amun-Ra created. The War of the Gods that broke out. I've heard other people talk about wars of the gods. What War of the Gods that broke out? What are you talking about in this particular instance, my brother?
What you just mentioned about the Two of the Day Danann coming from that portal, for everybody who thinks this is hocus pocus nonsense, research the cartoon called He-Man. Research He-Man and research in that storyline how He-Man came about. He-Man was summoned to this earth through an interdimensional portal. He-Man is a depiction of the Two of the Day Danann. Okay?
You got
so just to verify that.
Yeah, oh my God. You said He-Man?
That's right. That's when we all grew up on that.
Yeah.
And so when you go into the Popol Vuh, this particular document, this is in, I won't say ancient, because they haven't really given us a specific age yet. It's a Mayan document, and it's an invaluable source of knowledge from the ancient Mayan culture, written in the language of Quiche, which is a Mayan language. And the Mayan author, or the authors between 1554 and 1558, it's in the Latin alphabet, which Spanish orthography. Okay, it chronicles the creation of humans and humankind the actions of the gods, the origin and the story, the history of the Kiiche people, and the chronology of their kings down to 1550. The original Popol Vuh was discovered at the beginning of the 18th century by Francisco Jimenez, parish priest of Chichicastenango in Highland, Guatemala. He both copied the original Quiche text, now it's lost, and he translated it to Spanish. Okay, so what we have now is this guy Francisco Jimenez, his translation of the original Quiche text of the Popol Vuh. But I believe, that's still very valuable. His work is now in the Newberry Library in Chicago. So when we speak about the aspect of the Popol Vuh, when they speak about the gods going to war, this kick-started in Antarctica when it was still a tropical habitat. Now, what movie best depicted this was Alien versus Predator, the film that came out in 2004. You had the Predator, which they call the Yautja, and then you had the alien, which they call the xenomorph. Now, the xenomorph is basically a representation of a god known as Kagan. Research a god known as Kagan, Kaggen. The Khoisan speak about him in South Africa. Kagan is a low vibrational trickster, shape-shifting god, but his favorite form is a praying mantis. Now, what Kagan does is he examines the movement, the behavior, the appearance of an object or of a person, and he literally is able to mimic the DNA of his environment or the molecular structure of his environment. And this is what Kagan is about. That's what Kagan does. So Kagan and his minions went to war with the followers of a god named Khepri. Now, if you study Khepri, Khepri is the god with the scarab face, which is a beetle face with dreadlocks. And Khepri was known for introducing artificial technology to humanity. So Khepri, he is known as the leader of the beetle face insectoids with the dreadlocks. That's where you get the theology for the Predator film, and that's where you get the that's where you get the idea for the Yautja. And then you have these shape-shifting gods that are parasitic in nature, right? These are followers of the god Kagan, right? And they were depicted as the xenomorphs in the film AVP 2004. Now, how can we prove that shape-shifting is real? Oh, well, I'll tell you. If you study the praying mantis species, right? And remember, this was Kagan's favorite form. His favorite form was the praying mantis. So we're going to study a species called the jungle leaf mantis. The jungle leaf mantis. The jungle leaf mantis is able to grow a giant jungle leaf on its back, and it's able to literally imitate and morph into a green jungle leaf from the leaf that is being emitted from its thorax, and a leaf being emitted from its abdomen. So I have the pictures on my computer, but you guys can pull this up right now. Jungle leaf mantis. So this is a praying mantis that watches the movement of the jungle leaf, studies its molecular makeup, and somehow, some way, it has the ability to literally morph its molecular structure to match the shape, color, movement, and texture of its environment. But we can keep it going. There are mantises known as dead leaf mantises. Dead leaf mantises. These mantises are able to literally morph their molecular structure to perfectly mimic a dead leaf that just fell off of a tree. There's also a mantis species called the ghost mantis. The ghost mantis is able to shift its molecular structure to perfectly mimic a crinkled up dead leaf. So this ghost mantis looks like a crinkled up dead leaf, perfectly mimics it. There is a mantis known as the orchid mantis, or the flower mantis. It perfectly emulates pink flower leaves. Then you have the stick mantis, the tree moss mantis, and then the bark mantis. The bark mantis has copied the genetic phenotype of the tiger beetle. I'll repeat that. The bark mantis has copied the genetic makeup, the genetic phenotype of a tiger beetle. It's imitating a tiger beetle. It's called a bark mantis. So this right here proves without a doubt the shape shifting is real. Mainstream science kept this knowledge from us, and the greatest shapeshifter on the planet is in fact the mantis species. And the Khoisan in South Africa knew about this, and they said there was a literal god that was able to do this, just like the mantis.
Brother, I ain't never seen nobody get so enthusiastic about shape-shifting insectoids before, man. God damn, you must really study this thing, huh?
Man, wow. Look. Wow. After I learned that everything I learned in school was a lie, I took it personal, man. I took it personal.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Wow, this is you're gonna have us doing a lot of research tonight, man. Okay, wow. I didn't know you was going there, brother. Wow, that's very interesting.
Yeah, man. Shape shifting is real.
What's your thoughts on one of the things you mentioned in your post that I just read and we're talking about? You mentioned the philosopher Plato. What's your thoughts on Plato? Was Plato? Some people say Plato was a brother. He wasn't really who they thought he was. What's your thoughts on Plato and the Greeks at that time?
I believe that any person with a certain amount of public recognition and accolades and fame back then, especially if he wasn't really known as a revolutionary, I wouldn't be shocked if he was involved in, some form of corruption. But one thing that I know for a fact is the culture that allowed him to obtain the information about Atlantis gave him the accurate information.
Right. Yeah. So in terms of Atlantis, wait, somebody said something I want to on your post. Somebody said something that was kind of interesting. They said after algorithm 528 Hertz on your post said after Atlantis fell, life started in Tibet. They are the original race after Atlantis and inherit their wisdom, knowledge. They shared it with Mesoamerica as well. Blah blah blah. But what's your thoughts about Tibet inheriting the knowledge once Atlantis fell? And if that's not true, where did all the knowledge go once Atlantis did fall?
When Atlantis fell, you had Mu, and that's why the real spiritual knowledge and the real knowledge of the earth was kept there. It was kept by the Taoist monks. You have the Taoist monks, and then you have the dark Taoist monks, and they held the most accurate, spiritual metaphysical knowledge in the world.
And that was in Tibet. The Taoist monks you talking about?
Yeah, you had Tibet, and then you also have Indonesia, Java. I'm not sure about Vietnam. Yeah, Cambodia, Java, Tibet, and I don't think not Papua New Guinea. I'm absolutely sure about Indonesia, Java, and Tibet though.
Right. So I mean, based on so much that you've researched, if you had one place to travel on Earth where you think you could get tap into some spirituality, whether it be a book or just the energy field around you, where would you go if you had to choose one spot based on everything that you researched and studied?
I would definitely say wherever the Taoist monks are.
Uh-huh.
You know, because I believe that they have mastered the art and the science of detachment.
Right. Right. So you feel that that's something real important, detachment.
Oh yeah. Well, the detachment and you know, tapping into your inner powers.
Right.
You know, activating certain strands of DNA that, you know, were once dormant.
Uh-huh. Do you see in the coming years with everything, you know, the sun is heating up, heat wave going on all over the country right now?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see any continents popping up out the ocean that we weren't aware of in our lifetime? Do you think we're going to see land masses just reappearing out of nowhere that's going to change the whole dynamic of what we've been researching and studying?
I wouldn't necessarily think, you know, well, I mean, anything's possible, but I wouldn't necessarily say that. I think more so there's a much greater chance of sinkholes popping up in different places. And just how they found the one in China back in 2022 that led them to a whole, you know, different ecosystem. I see a lot more of those popping up in the very near future.
The sinkholes. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I wonder what's the update with that sinkhole that they found, and I wonder what's going on with
It,
that right there, man.
it's funny how you hear about things like that for maybe, you know, a few days to a week, and then you never hear about it again.
Yeah, very. That's why I said that. Yeah, because I haven't heard nothing since then. Yeah, somebody said.
Uh,
Let me ask you this, and I'm glad somebody in the chat mentioned this.
okay,
Starting with Lake Lanier. What's your
okay.
thoughts on Lake Lanier, our ancestors, all the deaths that happened on Lake Lanier? Should we stay away from a place like that, or do you think other races need to stay away from Lake Lanier? What's your whole thoughts on the energy surrounding Lake Lanier?
Any time you deal with an area where people died and they suffered, they suffered a lot and they exuded a lot of negative energy before they died, that's going to be a very that's going to be a very that's going to be a negative. It's gonna exude a negative frequency, and people don't even have to get possessed or haunted to feel it. It's just a feeling. It's literally just a gut feeling. And I kid you not, if your body and your soul is exuding negative low frequencies before death, there's a very high, you know, chance that the soul is going to stay dormant in the same area where, you know, their soul left their body. And that's called, you know, of course, that's called a soul that hasn't been, you know, laid to rest, because they weren't able to move over to the other side because of the amount of fear that, you know, that was running through their essence when their soul left their body. So in order to make it over to the other side, a wormhole has to open up in the heart chakra. And the only way that can happen is if your body is exuding yang frequency. If something is happening that exudes a lot of pain or fear or animosity or greed, any kind of a low, you know, a major low frequency, that's going to keep us attached to the what's called the yin frequency. That's going to leave our soul behind. So there's many different places, especially across the United States, where you have nothing but orbs of negative frequencies because people have been raped and molested there. You know, we're talking about mass genocides, mass shootings that killed, you know, dozens or hundreds of people all throughout this country since the since the cowboy days. You know what I'm saying? Back in what the 17, 1800s. So, and I believe that's part of the reason why the United States on record has the worst weather. You know, you got tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, solar flares, wildfires, sinkholes, floods.
Wow. Yeah, no, very, very interesting. Very interesting. What's your thoughts? I'm gonna take some questions. We had a real late start tonight, so I'm gonna get to questions a little early. We got about 15 minutes left. Before we get to the questions, let me what's your info if they would like to support you, my brother? What is it? PayPal, right? What's your PayPal?
The PayPal is amoapoxia@gmail.com. So that's A.
Yeah.
That's A, and then M is in Mandy, then O, then A, then P is in Paul, OKSIA @gmail.com. And that's for PayPal and Zelle.
All right, so that's AMOAPOKSIA @gmail.
That's right.
All right, so yeah, I just wanted to put that up before we get into some questions because we had a real late start tonight, so I won't be here for too long. But yeah, show the brother some love and support, man. This brother, he took it there, man. I'm like, I'm listening to him. I'm scratching my head like, what the? So the brother definitely took it there tonight with some interesting information that it's definitely we got to check out and research and see what's going on, man. Wow, it's always so much to learn living in this realm. So I love being in a position I am where I learn from so many of the teachers. But let's get to some questions. Yeah, show the brother some love. PayPal or Zelle, his email is right there. Let's get to a few questions before we get out of here. All right, somebody wants to know. I'm gonna get to some good questions. I see some good ones. All right, what is the connection with Ethiopia and Atlantis?
There was a Greek philosopher that said the pictures that were depicting the Atlanteans, he said that some of the Atlanteans had the same phenotype as Ethiopians. I'm trying to see if I can find the name of that particular philosopher. I'm going to see if I can pull this up. Okay, that's not it. Strange name. It wasn't Plato. See if I can pull this up. Who meaning, narrative, conquest. No, I don't think I remember the name off the top of my head, but I know there was a philosopher who knew of Plato, and he was quoted saying, well, matter of fact, I could put that in on Google right now. Ethiopians and Atlantis. Greek philosopher. Ethiopian Atlantis. No.
All right, as we waiting for that brother to research that. What does the name of his paper? Yeah.
History. What's the name?
Yeah, if you don't see it, it's all good.
Okay. Yeah. His name was simple. His name was simple, but it was kind of a long name. But it was like a repetition of the same letters. It was a long name. I forgot, but he knew of Plato, but he was quoted saying the Ethiopians.
Somebody said,
Oh
was
no,
it Socrates? Somebody said, was it Socrates? No.
nope.
Okay.
Was it?
Yeah. Aristotle?
Nope.
Somebody know? Okay. All right. Homer?
Nope. His name, it had a lot of O's. It had a lot of O's in it, and it was long. It may have started with an H. I gotta look it up, but that's what I remember. I know it for a fact. He was a philosopher, European philosopher. He's quoted saying the Ethiopians looked very similar to the Atlanteans.
Oh yeah. Somebody saying Pythagoras. That's the math guy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a math.
yeah, that's the math. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's all good. Let's keep on. Let's keep on with the questions. I said I'm gonna get to some of these questions before we get out of here tonight. Somebody said, "Peace, brothers and RFG. Don't forget the Unaguni ruins in Japan's waters. What's that about?"
Oh yeah, that's the underwater pyramid that they found over there, and I believe that was part of Mu, and I believe that there were certain artifacts and maybe even underwater tombs that they were able to get access to, and I believe that was part of the reason why they decided to drop nuclear weapons on Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yeah.
And then, out of all of the towns and the cities in Japan, they choose the two cities that are connected to the MERS. Hiroshima, you have Heru. Hero is really Heru.
Yeah.
Hiroshima. And then you have Nagasaki, the Nagas.
Oh man, you making wow, man. Shit, man, you coming up with some stuff tonight, man.
Yeah. That was all strategic on their part, and I believe that they took artifacts. They took sacred artifacts from underneath Japan. I think they do the same thing with every major war. The one in Iraq, they're saying so you have certain sources saying that there were interdimensional portals that Saddam Hussein was tapping into.
Right, I heard about that. Bobby Hemmett talked about it. Okay.
And you got the pyramids over there. The pyramids in the Middle East are called ziggurats.
And
this is really gonna blow you guys away. I heard that the Vietnam War was started because of two pieces of crystal, two types of crystal that were found under the surface of Vietnam. One was called Lek Lai, that's Leklai, and then the other one was called Labradorite. So that's Labradorite, Labradorite, and then Lek Lai. Now, I'm not sure which one of these crystals is capable of this, but one of those crystals, they say, is bulletproof. They say you can't penetrate it with a bullet.
Damn, you got some top secret information tonight, man. No wonder why you couldn't log into StreamYard, man. No wonder why you couldn't log in tonight, man. The hell are you talking about tonight, man?
Wow. And that was one of the first times I wasn't able to log into any of my YouTube accounts. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Let's keep it moving. Let's get to some let's get to some other questions. Somebody said, did they speak on any other colored beings? I remember you said we were blue, green, and red people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. When we had the reptilian part of our genome, added to our DNA after the draconian invasion, you had beings that could use that reptilian DNA to change colors, to literally change colors, just like a chameleon. You had, people who could go from green, purple, blue, red, orange, golden. You see what I'm saying? Just like the spectrum of the rainbow. Usually, that's only done with either reptilian DNA or insectoid DNA.
Mm-hmm.
Well, wait a second. Mollusks are also capable of that because of the octopus.
Mm.